Hi guys. Those of you who know me well know that this last year I've been experimenting with investing in gold and silver. I'm going to do an unboxing video in a few days that kind of shows some of the bullion I've purchased recently. You guys can see what it looks like when it shows up and just kind of go over that with you. I thought today might be a good idea to do a preliminary video as kind of a prelude to that one, where we can go over the very basics of investing in gold and silver, why I do it, why it's interesting to me, some of the terminology, that kind of thing. I'd like to preface this with, sort of a PSA that I am not an expert at all. Okay, I'm an amateur at this, and when you're talking about money and your investments, get the advice of an expert, because I have very little money. I don't make very much money, so I'm probably not the best one to advise everyone else. This is just kind of what I'm into. So take anything I say with a grain of salt, and I hope you enjoy the video. Okay. So as far as terminology goes, there's a couple things that I think are worth knowing. The first term that you might hear me use quite a bit is the term spot price, or sometimes it'll be referred to as melt. The spot price of any given precious metal is the value of that metal per ounce at that exact moment with no numismatic value. In other words, just how much the metal weighs and what that weight is worth. Numismatic value is a little bit different. That is the value that is above and beyond a precious metal based on its collectability or its rarity. In other words, if you find a Roman coin from 2100 years ago that has the exact same amount of copper in it as a penny today, it's obviously going to be worth more than a penny because of its rarity and its historical significance. That is the numismatic value. When you purchase gold or silver or any precious metal, the idea is to try to get it at a price that is as close to spot as you can. Because when you purchase it from an online dealer or a precious metal exchange or whatever, they have to make money too. So the idea is that if the spot price of silver right now is $14 per ounce, when I purchase it, it might cost me $14.50 or $15 because they are putting a premium on it because they have to stay in business as well. So I, as a person, try to buy it as cheap as I can. I'm not interested in the designs or what it looks like or anything like that. I just want the best price over spot I can possibly get. I also want to talk about the term round, because when I first started getting into gold and silver, I didn't really understand what that meant. A round is any coin-shaped piece of bullion that is not actually a coin. What that means is that you can purchase bullion from an American mint, from the United States government, and they sell actual coins that actually are backed by the American government. That is called a coin. If you buy anything other than that, that is like in a circular coin shape, this is called a round. There's no value here outside of the weight of the metal. So this is not backed by the government, anything like that. This is just a convenient way to carry a piece of bullion. You'll see different rounds that have different designs, obviously, and some cooler designs cost more money, so forth. But that is what a round is. I primarily collect rounds. I don't have very many coins. I'm not really interested in that. I'm much more interested in just generic bullion. I just want the cheapest way possible. You might also hear me use the term stacker quite a bit. The name given to people who collect this kind of bullion is called a stacker. So if you were to go online and search for a community of stackers, you find guys that collect gold and silver and precious metals. That's the name they've given themselves. I'm not saying it's cool, but that is what they're called. Silver stackers. I thought it might be cool to kind of go over, take a closer look at some of the bullion that I have. Like I said, I don't have a ton, and I generally don't keep it at my house and everything, so I brought this here so we can kind of look at it together. So what you see in front of you, these bars, these are 10-ounce bars, 10 troy ounce. So it seems like with anything else, buying gold and silver, you generally pay less per ounce if you buy a larger amount. I don't normally have the money laying around to buy a 100-ounce bar or anything like that. So what I can buy, and when I do have a little bit of extra money, is I normally buy like a little 10-ounce bar. So you can see what this says here. This will always be the same on every bar. There's a couple things that will always be there. Typically, it's the name of the mint. This mint comes from Silvertown. And it'll also give you 0.999, the purity. If it's not 999, it'll have that too, but it stamps the purity, and it says fine silver, 10 troy ounces. You can see this one has a little design on it. That's kind of Silvertown's logo. But you need to have that in order to be sure that this is, one of the ways to be sure this is a real bar. You got to have the mint mark on it, and you got to have the purity stamped on it. So that is a 10-ounce bar. And as I said, because I normally buy these based on how inexpensive they are, I don't care what the design is. This is an American flag design. I think that's badass. But I didn't pick this because I thought it was cool. I picked it because at the time it was the cheapest. AppMex, that's another thing. It's another online. It's called the American Precious Metal Exchange. It's an online bullion store. And you can see 99 fine silver, 10 troy ounce. Okay. Now you can also look at the rounds here. As I said, the rounds are coin-shaped pieces of silver, generally in 1 troy ounce. You can get them bigger, but 1 troy ounce is obviously the most popular. And I love these. It's like having treasure. Okay. So I do buy rounds. They're not generally as inexpensive as bars, so I don't have as many as I would like. But, when you buy rounds, they generally come in little tubes like this, tubes of 20 or 10. So some more 10-ounce bars there. Let's talk a little bit about gold. I don't have very much gold because gold is crazily expensive. It's 80 times more per ounce than silver. Okay, so for a guy who doesn't have much money, gold's kind of out of my reach most of the time. However, every now and again, if I have a little bit of extra, I will buy. This is my first gold bar. Here we go. This comes from Istanbul Gold Refinery, okay, which is a very well-known refinery. Gold is so expensive that they sell it by the gram. Okay, so this is 5 grams of totally pure 24 karat gold. You can see that it comes in what's called an assay card. An assay card is a sealed card that gives it a different level of authenticity. It has a certified assayer behind it. It has a little barcode there. It has a mint mark at the bottom. It also has a certificate number. These are all marked. So certificate number matches the number on the bottom here. It's like a serial number. That's how you know it's real. And last but not least, I wanted to talk about this little guy. We talked about rounds and coins. This is actually a coin. This is a Canadian maple. So while it's made out of pure gold and it's worth a lot more money than the face value, this is legal tender in Canada. This is backed by the Canadian government. If I handed this to somebody at a grocery store, they would have to take it as, I believe it's $5. So it's interesting. This is actually a piece of money, not just gold. But that's what I was talking about when I said that this is backed by the government. This is not a round. This is an actual coin that the Canadian government has released. So I think an obvious question here is, why invest in precious metals? Why spend my money on bulk amounts of gold and silver? There's a couple different reasons for that. First and foremost, when you're talking about investing in precious metals, you got to kind of take the word investment with a grain of salt. None of my investments here in gold and silver will probably ever make me money. That's not the point. You can, in fact, make money on gold and silver if, like, the spot price doubled today or something. You could sell and make a profit on it. But that isn't the point. Most people who invest in this way, most people who purchase, precious metals, they do it to store their wealth. Okay, it's not to make more. It's a better way to think about it is like a savings account. Precious metals, specifically silver and gold, they tend to keep their purchasing power in perpetuity. In other words, what an ounce of silver could buy in 1965 is pretty much the same as it could buy now. In 1965, the amount of silver in a quarter could get you a gallon of gas. That weight of silver was worth, 25 cents, get you a gallon of gas. Nowadays, the weight of silver in a quarter from 1965 is worth about $3. So in other words, still buys you a gallon of gas. The money has changed. It's been inflated. It's now $3 a gallon for gas instead of 25 cents, but that same amount of silver will buy you the same amount of gas. That's the idea. So precious metals maintain their value. That is the point. You use it as a hedge against inflation. So if you put money in the bank, say you put $10,000 in the bank and you get 3% interest, but during that same time you're accruing interest, inflation is 8%, you just lost money. Your money is worth less, ostensibly. Gold and silver are different than that. So I stack silver and gold in order to preserve wealth, not to make wealth, but to keep it in a tangible and physical way. This is not numbers on a computer screen. This can't be taken away if, the economy crashes. This can't be wiped out with the stroke of a button. Having a tangible asset that maintains its value is in my opinion, a really interesting and wonderful thing. Another reason that people invest in precious metals, outside of just being a hedge against inflation, is that there's a finite supply. So some people are putting their bets that it will go up, as the supply decreases. And the primary motivation behind that, the primary reason people feel that way, is because as our world becomes more and more electrified and there's middle classes emerging in huge economies like China and that kind of thing, silver is used, and gold as well, but silver especially, for its conductivity. It is used in almost every electronic that's made. So think cell phones or iPads or drones or whatever. There is an amount of silver that has to be used in that in order to make those work. So because we are now, every aspect and every facet of our life is now kind of controlled by electronics, the smart bet is that the components of those electronics are going to become more and more valuable. So there is a finite supply of silver and gold. When it's all mined up, it's gone. And there might be, there's a lot left, but that's kind of an interesting thing. So a lot of people believe that the value is going to go up at some point as our need for it, supply and demand kind of changes as well. The final and most important reason for me for stacking gold and silver is for bequeathment. So in other words, if I want to leave it to somebody after I'm gone. If you leave somebody straight cash in the bank, the government's going to take a piece of that when they go to collect it. There's estate taxes and all kinds of capital gains things you have to file and that kind of thing. So leaving somebody $100,000 in fiat cash in the bank, when they get that after you're gone, maybe they walk away with 80,000 or 75 or something like that. The government's going to take their piece. Gold and silver is a little bit different. Because it's a commodity that's physical, there's not a lot of regulation on who has it and at any given time. That's one of the risks to it as well. Somebody could steal it or that kind of thing. But the point is, if I leave somebody $100,000 worth of gold, they can walk into a pawn shop in $10,000 increments or whatever, and they can walk away with $100,000. Nobody is there to, you don't have to report that really to the IRS unless it's over a certain amount. I'm not saying that you should do that, and maybe you should report it to the IRS as your civic duty or whatever. But the idea here is that gold and silver is like a commodity. It's like owning a TV or something. It's like owning a thing. The only difference is that you walk out of a TV store, that TV is going to lose 40% of its value the moment you get to your car. Gold and silver is going to maintain that value. So it's another form of money. It's a physical, tangible piece of money that you can give someone else, and they can easily sell it or flip it. So for me, that's actually an important part of it. I like the idea of keeping my wealth in my family and being able to give them something that they're not going to get screwed on when I'm gone. So guys, I hope that was informative. If there's anything you want to know more specifics about, please let me know. The gold and silver game is crazy. There are tons of different idiosyncrasies and millions of different things to talk about. This is just a very basic kind of explanation for people who didn't even know it was possible to purchase it like this. So this is the bare minimum. If you have any questions about this, like I said, let me know. Let me know what you think about the video, and have a great day. Bye-bye.